So today we're going to dig into a pretty radical idea from educator John Taylor Gatto. What if the most important things we learn in school have absolutely nothing to do with what's on the syllabus? Yeah, let's break down what's being called the hidden cost of our education system. Okay, so it all kicks off with a question that kind of flips everything we've been told on its head. I mean, we're all taught that perfect attendance is key, right? But what if that's not the whole story? This whole idea actually comes from a really fascinating experiment back in the 80s that just completely broke the mold. So get this. There was a teacher in New York City who tried something pretty wild. He told his students they could cut class. Seriously. But there was one catch. They had to use that time to go after something they were genuinely passionate about. And the results? They were absolutely staggering. His students didn't just do well in school, they soared. And his method? It worked so well that he was named New York City Teacher of the Year. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times. And here's a story that just perfectly captures the potential here. One of his students, an 8th grader, took this newfound freedom and just ran with it. She decided to do her own original research on swimming pools, of all things. And you know what happened? She ended up selling that research for over $10,000. An 8th grader. That's incredible. So a story like that really makes you wonder, right? If giving kids this kind of freedom works so well, why aren't we all doing it? Well, the argument we're looking at today suggests the answer is something called the hidden curriculum. Okay, so what exactly is this hidden curriculum? Look, it's not about reading, writing, or arithmetic. It's all the unspoken stuff, the lessons about values, about how you're supposed to act. And the core argument here is that the number one lesson being drilled into students day in and day out is one simple word: obedience. So let's really unpack these unwritten rules, right? The system teaches you that truth, it comes from the top, from the teacher, from the textbook. Your self-worth? Oh, that's determined by your report card. And maybe most importantly, it teaches you that every single thing you do will be assigned to you. There's just no space left for what you actually want to explore. And when you put it like that, you see this huge difference. On paper, the official curriculum's all about big ideas, critical thinking, science, history. But what's the practical lesson? What's the hidden curriculum really teaching? Well, according to this argument, it's about following orders, memorizing stuff you'll probably forget, and just repeating it back. Okay, so if the name of the game is compliance, what's the price we pay for that? Well, this perspective points to some pretty serious costs, consequences that reach way beyond the classroom walls. I mean, come on, who hasn't heard this question before? When am I ever going to use this? Maybe you've even said it yourself. And see, that's not just kids being lazy. The argument is that it's a symptom of a much bigger problem. When you force students to learn things that have zero context or connection to their actual lives, what do you get? You get indifference. And just think about the sheer amount of time we're talking about. I mean, it's wild. When you do the math, from the first bell in the morning to the last one in the afternoon, for 15 years of schooling, it adds up to almost 19,000 hours. That is a massive chunk of a person's life. And every single one of those hours is an opportunity cost. It's time you can't get back. I mean, what could a kid do with 19,000 free hours? They could be exploring what they love, building their creativity, finding their ambition. Instead, from this point of view, that entire childhood is spent locked into a rigid, top-down system. But look, it's not all bad news. This line of thinking doesn't just point out the problem. It actually offers up a potential solution, a different way to think about learning. And here's the core idea. The typical school day is just really inefficient. The argument is that if your only goal is to master the required curriculum, you could get it done in a tiny fraction of the time we currently spend on it. So how would this actually work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Step 1, you just knock out the formal schoolwork as efficiently as you can. That frees up a ton of time, which brings us to step 2. You use that extra time for something called unschooling. And all that really means is you get to do step 3, follow your own curiosity and see where it takes you. Now, unschooling doesn't mean sitting around doing nothing. Not at all. It's about learning on your own terms. It could be anything. Learning how to cook, starting your own little business, discovering you have a hidden creative talent, or hey, to bring this all the way back to the beginning, it could look like an 8th grader who becomes an expert on swimming pools and makes a business out of it. So, Really, it all boils down to this one big question we have to ask ourselves about education. What's the real goal here? Are we trying to help create knowledgeable, creative, ambitious people? Or are we, maybe without even realizing it, just teaching compliance through this hidden curriculum? It's definitely something to think about.